All right, let's do it. This is I Figured Out I'm Grown. Ben Ford here.
Leander Kelsey Jr. right beside him.
What are we talking about today?
Well, today we are talking about, man, I've lost my notes,
It's
man.
politics
It is politics.
and how it's changed over time of growing.
Oh, yeah, I got it.
And
the politics
there we
of
go.
growing up. My fault. I lost it. Y'all see I'm reading notes because we know we evolving around here. So listen. So today's episode is going to be about the politics of growing up, how and why political and social views evolve as we age, and the importance of civic engagement.
Yep, I'm with it.
You with it?
I'm going to tell you now, I'm an independent. 100%.
And I'm about to piss all y'all off because I'm going to tell you now, 100%
You conservative?
Republican.
You Republican?
Republican.
Republican.
Stand up.
I think you're I think you're an independent.
Nope. I think
you're a conservative.
I started out as a Democrat. Became an independent. And eventually I became a Republican.
Do you really agree with everything? That's why I'm an independent, because I don't agree with everything.
Well, the reason why, and the only reason why I chose not to go independent is simply because of the voting, the way it's structured.
Yeah, so you can't be in the primary.
Right, I can't be. It doesn't really. So I had.
So you're independent, but you wanted to be able to have a voice.
I wanted to have a voice.
Yeah.
And because
outside of the general election.
Right, outside of general election.
Which makes sense.
So that's why I became a Republican.
Yeah. So I mean, it is what it is.
And to truthfully say that,
but see, that's funny. You thought that people were going to get mad.
No, I don't really care because it's my right.
Yeah.
But anyway, my right. Listen.
My right. Look here, partner. I'm going to tell you right now. I'll tell you everything you need to know about everything you don't know when I know what I don't know when I know it. Yeah.
Because it's my right.
Mark.
So listen. So my whole point is this. In the political system in America, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not a talking head on TV. This is just my opinion.
You are a talking head on TV.
Oh, yeah, I am. Make sure y'all hit like and subscribe. But anyway, so to be in the politics now and expect for me to align with everything, to say I'm 100 in alignment with everything that the Republicans say, I'm not. To say that I'm in alignment with everything the Democrats say, I'm not.
Correct.
So and never will I align with any one person simply because I have an opinion and I have my opinions about certain things and the way certain things go.
Yeah.
However, I also look at it from what's best from the people, what's best for the people.
So
and sometimes I think people forget that it's about what's best for the majority of the people, not necessarily what's going to benefit you as a person, but what's best for the overall people.
Yeah. And I think that's good. And I think you expressed how we're supposed to talk about this today. Because you said you started out as a Democrat. And then you became Republican. Oh no, then you went independent. Then you went to Republican.
I had
Was
to
it
study.
Republican or conservative?
I'm gonna say I'm definitely gonna say that I became more conservative with time.
Yes.
And because conservatism, is that the word? Conservatism. Yeah. So when as you get older, in my opinion, you definitely become more conservative.
Yeah.
And that's
become cheap.
Yeah. That's exactly what happens.
Why am I spending this money on this?
I don't necessarily agree with
why
everything.
Y'all taking 30% of my money?
Right.
When I spend it and when I make it.
And then me being a business owner on the other side, not that I benefit from all of the tax things and this, that, and the third, and they don't always benefit me and it doesn't always help me.
Yeah.
But I do see the value in what capitalism can bring to you. Even though technically I feel like I'm playing Monopoly and the board has already been bought out, but that's a different topic for a different subject.
Go ahead.
But go ahead. No. Go ahead.
So with me sitting where I sit, I see
at the table.
I see both extremes as wanting the same thing. Neither of the extremes likes capitalism. The only people that like capitalism are the moderates and independents.
I don't think the independents and the moderates like capitalism.
They do, because they want to make that money.
I don't think
they don't want to be taxed.
I definitely think the moderates don't really care for it because they want everybody to be the same.
They just want the status quo,
right?
What it is right now.
But I feel like capitalism is an opportunity for you to create as much as you want to create.
Which is where we are right now.
Which is where we are at. Which is where I think we need to stay.
Do you think we need to stay, or do you think we need to modify?
We need to advance. We need to go full steam ahead.
Full steam ahead.
Full steam ahead. Everybody
in what place?
Everybody deserves an opportunity to not have to work for somebody or be. Everybody has an opportunity to achieve and get as much as they can get.
Yeah.
However, modifying to me to eliminate the middle, in my opinion, is not a good thing.
Right, and that's what's happening right now.
And that's what's happening right now because there's no gap, and I feel like that has to do with the fact that you're dealing with more people that are more moderates than you are one way or the other. Because the moderates, there is no middle, or they're wanting to get rid of the middle.
So the middle are the people that pay taxes. Basically, people that pay real taxes.
The middle is the people that pay the real taxes.
Yeah.
They're all your small business owners, your government workers, people. The middle,
right?
They're the middle, all the way up to like $1 million. You're in the middle.
There's no sway because they have most of their money goes to taxes, whereas the upper echelon or the 1% is able to modify government decisions based on the amount of funding they can provide the government candidates or the political parties, which I don't like.
I agree with that 100%. Like the super PACs and whatnot.
I don't like it.
I disagree with the super PACs, but both sides like super PACs for some reason. And
everybody likes money.
Everybody likes money. So
because those people that are most of the people in the House, they don't start out as millionaires. They come in there and
and they be broke.
So they were either lower or middle class when they jumped in, and then after they get in, that money starts to flow and their decisions start to change.
Right.
With the exception of like 4 people.
Right.
Right.
Right. And which is why you need to make a lot. Which is why they need to consistently make changes all the time.
Yeah.
And don't let people sit in there for millions and millions of years.
But yes, 100%.
That's the one thing that I think they got wrong.
But the kicker. So I was watching this lawyer
slavery
talk. Right. That's the one thing they got wrong. Right. And right history. Don't talk about his. Yeah, that's why I asked you. That's why I wanted to ask you. Do you align with everything? Because I think that not teaching history and teaching history and people being upset about it is the most snowflake stuff. And I use snowflake on purpose. It's the most snowflake shit I've ever heard. Oh, don't teach about what actually happened. I think that's crazy.
That is crazy.
Like, there's a reason there's such a poverty line in Alabama.
But they don't want to talk about it.
Right. They want to say, oh, like I heard somebody say, well, slaves benefited from what they learned. Okay.
What?
Great. You didn't hear that?
No.
They said slaves benefited.
I unplugged from the foolishness.
Yeah, the foolishness is out there, bro. And I've heard it and I'm like, is that real?
And
did you say that?
And due to the fact that now me and you both can agree on that. And now I don't know which side, who wrote what and who said this.
That's a Florida thing.
I'm going to say this right
That's
here.
a Florida Republican thing. They said the slaves benefited from the trades they learned while they were slaves.
Okay. Well, hey, look. I'm going to say it like this. I'm gonna say it like this, and I'm not gonna talk about the slavery part because that's stupidity. What I will say is this: history has been erased.
Yeah,
and they're still erasing it.
Why do people want to not know? Like, I don't understand why people don't want to know. I would rather know.
You want me to tell you why people don't want to know?
Why?
People don't want to know because if you don't know, then what happens?
You don't have to care.
No, you get to redo it again.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
That's what happens.
Yeah.
Regardless of what you think, regardless of what happens the reason why, and I'm gonna get a little bit here. The reason why they don't teach anything after Reconstruction in this country is because they don't want us to know. They don't want us to be aware.
Yeah.
So if you can hide it, if you can erase it, that's just like conquering.
So what
that's what conqueror. Yeah. That's what conquerors
and that's the truth.
Do. When
the winners write the history.
The winners write history. They go through and they erase it. It no longer exists. And, and that's what happens. In another 100 years, slavery will be just like them movies on Prime. Like Harriet Tubman was on that Tubman movie they released.
Harriet Tubman had a cell phone.
Yeah, and all this foolishness. It's exactly what it's going to.
Somebody should make a 21st century
They did on the Boondocks.
They did?
I think it was the Boondocks.
Really?
Maybe I'm wrong. But it. So you erase it, you misconstrue it, you make it, you do all the things. So it saddens my heart.
Okay, so let's bring it back though, because we're going too far. Okay,
hold it.
Go. Okay, say it.
It saddens my heart on Dr. King's birthday when they interview the little kids, and they like, so what did Dr. King do for you to help you? And the only thing they say during Black History Month is Dr. King said that everybody should be happy and love each other because that's what we're here to do.
They won't play that speech in Selma where he said, "Nah, this system is terrible. No, the political and the financial. What?
It's always
there's a reason they assassinate.
It's always I have a dream because that's the one thing that they put out.
It makes people feel good.
They only put out the feel good messages, only the feel good stuff. So anyway,
and before you go, because I got one thing to say too, because I think that it's crazy that we care so much about how people feel, and yet talk about safe spaces being a bad place.
But do they really care about how you feel?
Yes, that's why they're getting rid of it.
But they don't care about how I feel about it.
Exactly.
They don't care about how I feel.
So stop caring about feelings.
When they cut down, when they, and I'm gonna say this, when they cut down the tree that Nat Turner was hung on in Virginia, when they cut down the tree, I thought that was the stupidest thing in the world they could have ever done. Because you know what happens when you cut down the tree? In 40, 50, 100 years from now, it never happened. It never happened. Now, I take a different stance on most of that stuff. When everybody's like, let's tear down all these monuments they built. Don't tear them down.
Now, I got it. Hold on.
Wait a minute.
Okay, go.
Let me say my side. Yeah. Because when you tear it down, what happened?
It didn't happen.
I'm not telling you to pay homage to it.
Yeah.
But what I'm telling you is that it did happen. General Lee did exist.
Yeah, he did.
These people did exist. But if you don't get an opportunity to say, oh yeah, that's who they celebrate, then you forget.
I think
they never, and they tell you on the signs, never forget.
Yeah.
Not just 9/11. Not just 9/11.
Right.
Not heritage and all this. Because when you stop posting and you stop letting them see that, then you forget what the Confederate flag really stood for. It became, that wasn't me.
That was heritage.
My family grew up and they just enslaved and they made a lot of money and it wasn't me.
I heard this week. I learned this week that Mississippi has a what do you call it? A Confederate Heritage Month.
They do.
And this is the crazy part. So we don't celebrate losers in America.
Nope.
But that's the most loser shit I've ever heard in my life.
But that's what they do.
Because loser shit.
They do. We usually we don't. But for me, I'm the type of person where it's like this. You can't let go of the past.
Yeah.
You have to hold on to that. Because here's the problem. And here's the real deal. Honestly, from a black people standpoint and a brown people standpoint, our history has never been taught.
Never.
So the fact is, they've been erasing it from the beginning because they never taught it in the beginning. So the things that they did put in there that they're now removing was never there. Just like they did the American Indians.
Yeah, right.
Thanksgiving. That's the only thing they taught. But they ain't telling you about all the land and all the raping and all the killing and all the people.
What is it?
They ain't telling you about gentrification.
What do you call it?
All of that.
How they broke up. What is it? Oklahoma?
Yeah.
Have you heard about how they broke up Oklahoma? It's crazy.
They don't tell you about that because they did that for the good of the people.
Now, what's nuts is there are people that have family that fought in the fought for the Confederacy, right? And I don't want to discredit their families, sacrifice if they passed away or if they lost in the Confederacy. I'm sorry that they lost, but now it's America time, baby.
Look, your family died in a war. My family died on the way over here. My family died in the fields.
In the fields?
My family died
on a tree. My family died on the run.
My family died on the run now.
Right.
So it is what it is. It's history.
Yeah.
You don't get to rewrite it. You don't get to act like it didn't exist. But anyway, that's a different story.
Right.
Let's get back to this politics. Let's get back on this.
We already getting in trouble right here.
And this is where
because we weren't going political.
We wasn't going, but that's one of those things where it's kind of like what happens.
Yeah.
So as you age, your political views change because, like you said, when you were younger, you listened to music, and now you listen to the news. And as you listen to the news, your political views have no choice but to change, like to morph, because you're becoming more aware. So how old were you when you started becoming aware? Like truly, because you went to HBCU, right?
Yeah.
HBCU, right?
Yeah.
So were you aware at HBCU?
No,
or did you become aware later?
Look, I didn't care about the news until, like, honestly, I think most of my generation started paying attention to the news after 9/11.
After 9/11?
Because before 9/11, I had no care.
I thought you was going to say after 2016 election.
No. Well, yes, that also counted too. But, we were all forced to watch the news.
I felt like
on 9/11.
So after 9/11?
On 9/11, we were all, as a country, most schools had kids watching some type of TV, seeing the news, and like seeing what's actually happening, which was bananas.
It was.
I had family in that building. I had family that didn't go to work that day. How about that? I called out sick.
Okay.
How about that? Blessings.
Those are.
Right. And I think that's when I first discovered this is something I might need to watch. And then being a football player, when we would win, they'd have stuff on the news. So I want to watch.
Okay.
So I want to see myself.
No. What I mean is when did you start paying true attention to the politics of the news? Not
when
just
watching. When I started my career, after graduation.
After graduation from college?
Yeah.
How old were you?
24.
So at about 24, 25.
It was like lightly paying attention to it.
What election? Okay, let me rephrase that. What election did you start paying attention to politics?
The Trump election.
The initial Trump election.
Yeah, because it was just so much wild shit happening. I'm like, is this real life?
I really truly think that's when. Okay, so anybody probably born in the 80s, maybe early 90s, really started over the last 10 years, have really started paying attention to political news. Political news. And that's because of the Trump era.
Yeah. Okay? It was wild.
The Trump era has shined a light on all political news, from the local races all the way to the White House, across the board.
Yeah.
Because it makes people now say, wait a minute, I need to get involved in this. Now,
I just thought it was crazy because there was so much stuff. It was a nonstop every day almost of something new, from the Hillary, the Bernie, the Trump, and
it was nonstop.
This was happening. She was cutting him out. He was cutting her out.
Man, they were firing on all cylinders. The news was ranked so high during that time. I mean, news organizations were. I mean, people were tuning in. It became such a serious deal that the news started basically claiming sets. They was like, this is we Democrat over here, we Republican over here. Like, we gonna split the news down the middle, and we don't even know. And then everybody like, yo, if they split the news down the middle,
who do we watch?
Who we watching? Sorry guys, Ben had to run to the other side of the studio.
Yeah, it's far along. Yeah, 17,000 square foot studio.
Exactly. So anyway, I don't remember. So basically, whenever we were talking about it, it was more like when I was looking at it and the way that people were doing, like the Haitians and a lot of this stuff that was happening, because they had the big.
Oh yeah, that's when they were whipping the Haitians and all
kind of. Yeah, so you had a lot. You had a lot of stuff going on during that time, and that's when I realized, okay, so there are other things that are happening in the world.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say that I've always been a little bit quote unquote woke, but during the Trump era,
I hate that term was taken.
I hate it was too. So I during the Trump era, I really started to focus heavily on the news. I started paying a lot more attention to it.
Yeah.
So much so that over the last couple of years, I have actually kind of pulled back a little bit. I've kind of gotten away from it as much, simply because it was starting to impact my thought process on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Because not just dealing with the political aspect of it, but recognizing how horrible and how little they value us.
Yeah.
The people. Us, the black people in this country, the black men in this country, the black men and women.
Black people
of this
then people.
And then people
like
in general. Just the people. Like the people of the United States of America. Like they don't care about us.
No.
They make it to wherever they're making it to that level. So much so that when remember you were talking a while back, we said, "Hey man, we should just run for some type of position just because."
I'm still doing it,
and I'm seriously considering it as well, simply due to the fact that like you need to.
Yeah.
You need to. And that lets me know that I'm now even more grown. Because I feel like in order to impact change, I need to be a part of it.
I mentioned to you earlier today, me and him were having a conversation earlier about healthcare and
he and I
about healthcare and the accessibility of it to certain groups of people. Mm-hmm. And I have a belief that children should be able to access healthcare regardless of their parent situation. I don't think that your parents' financial situation should dictate the ability for you to actually access healthcare as a child. I think that if a child has health issues, we should take them to the doctor and they should get taken care of, period.
And I was playing both sides of the fence at that point in time, but I do have to say that I feel the same way, but I also feel the same way about senior citizens. I feel that once you're beyond your years of working and you can no longer work anymore, I feel like we're in a place in this country where our old people and our youth should not have to worry about healthcare.
No, I don't think so.
When you're out here and you're working and you're busting your butt and you're slaving and all you do is 10, 12 hours or 50 hours a week or whatever it is, and you're maximizing your earning potential, when you age, you have earned the right to not have to worry about being taken care of.
I saw this kid say, they said, tell me something that nobody wants to hear. He said that the American people were fooled into thinking that working for 50 years just so you can have 15 years of freedom when you won't be able to use it because you're old is the way to go.
Is the way to go.
I was like, sheesh. Ouch.
It's sad, man. I mean, just thinking about it. But the only way you really look at it, like looking at it from a standpoint, is to say, hey, look, I need to impact change. But you also get it presented to you as what can I possibly do to impact change?
Yeah.
Like, what can little old me do? Who am I?
Yeah.
I don't got no money.
Yeah,
I can't win I ain't got no super PAC to help me win no election.
Well, apparently if you got a super PAC, you're owned anyway.
Well, you owned it. I mean, and you're gonna be owned.
And that means none of your decisions are.
Let's just be honest with this.
Yeah.
This is. Well, I ain't gonna say what I want to say.
Why are you owned?
Because
I didn't tell you to give me money.
But because you didn't, but you accepted it. Yeah. So you knew what it came with, because you wanted to you make a deal.
Yeah.
And you say, I'll impact the things that I can, and things that I can't, I won't worry about. I'll just turn a blind eye. And that's you. They're not paying you they're not supporting you to not to go against your things. They're just paying you basically to say, hey, look, you know what? I'll just be quiet on this issue, and I'm not gonna be a stand up for this issue, but I'm not gonna be outspoken on it either. I'll just turn a blind eye to it and act like it doesn't exist.
Which is wild.
And that's what I think happens. So in this country, politically, I personally recognize that I've changed. Like I said, during the Trump news era, during the Trump era, I've also recognized that happened as I've become a grown man. I've gotten older.
Right.
So as a youth, I was aware of the government. I was aware of how it works. I was aware of what happens and how the political system works. When I came along, they taught the political system and how it works, and the polls and the.
Did they teach it all the way, or did they teach
no.
like?
No.
Yeah, because
I went to Astoria Park Elementary in Tallahassee, Florida, and they went through the electorals. They went through the entire thing. And they started that in like the 4th and 5th grade. Like I learned it. American government in high school for half a semester, they didn't teach me crap.
Yeah,
that was the American government and economics. They give you some of the most important things in this country. You spend, and I say in high school because that's the one thing they make everybody do in this country is go to high school. They spend a half a semester on U.S. government and a half a semester on economics. And those are the two things, the two effing things, I said effing, two effing things that you should be focusing on in this country. We have zero idea about the political system, economics, money.
You know what's crazy?
Crap about nothing, but who cares?
When people say, oh, the economy's doing well because the stock market's doing well. Like, yeah, you really only listen to GDPs and that kind of stuff in high school. Are you for real? You really think because the stock market's doing well, the economy's doing well? No, but nobody. That's not how it works.
That's not how
it works at all.
But that's what That's what the talking heads teach us. And in order for them to give that to us, where that's all, where as far as we go, and even in college, they don't teach you. Man, look, I'm gonna tell you something.
The economy's doing well. We just laid off these people.
If they wanted you smart,
then
they'd make sure you know. Yeah. They'd make sure you know. They'd make sure you understand the political system. They'd make sure you understand the voting system. They'd make sure that you are where you're supposed to be. The only thing they concerned about
voting. It's not even a holiday to vote.
No,
you got to go to work. You can get fired
because they want,
I had to vote. You're fired.
They only want you to do what they want you to do. If you were smart and you knew how the political system worked and you knew how everything happened, then you can make an impact.
Yeah.
But they don't focus on that. They think algebra and geometry and trigonometry is more important than understanding your country's political system.
Well, that's legacy. So, I mean, those are important. That's a legacy curriculum.
Those are important for some people.
Right. That's a legacy curriculum to develop a STEM system in the United States for the Cold War.
I'll go along with all of that. But I'm going to have to tell you this. If you spent half the time learning trash math, focusing on the political system and how it impacts the people in this country, down the middle, neutrally.
Oh, that'll be hard.
That's the hard part. Neutrally.
Yeah.
Then you wouldn't have to worry about your babies being taken care of and your old people being taken care of.
Right. So for me, I started out hating everything anyway. I was brought up in an Afrocentric school that taught all of the Malcolm X, all of the Marcus Garvey, all of the Toussaint Louverture. Like I was not raised.
My mother did the same thing. My mother was the first black person I knew was racist when I was a kid.
Prejudice. Can't be racist if you can't change the system.
And I said that to see if you was gonna say, because that's what she used to say. I'm not racist. I'm prejudiced.
Can't be racist if you can't change the system. If you can change the system, you can be racist, but you can't change the system. And you know what? Like, and racism, and they say like, oh, black people are the most racist. No, everyone on this planet has stereotypes about other people. Period. And once you understand that, it is what it is. Like you can get mad. There's certain things you just don't say. You can't say that word to me if you ain't in a space where you can say that word to me.
I'm just gonna say this right here when it comes down to what they tell me I can and how I'm supposed to feel. Listen, we started on the bottom. We rose a little bit, but we still at the top of the bottom.
Right.
It's not equal. It'll never be equal.
Nope.
Because it's not designed for it to be equal.
What is equal? What is equity? What is equal?
And that's the question.
Look where I'm at now. Am I equal?
Nope. But you've risen, but you're still at the top of the bottom. And you will always remain at the top of the bottom. It's because it's not about monetary status.
No.
It's really not. And that's where we all get it twisted, because they're like, well, your people are doing better than black people are doing better now than they ever have in history. Well, we're fucking right. You're supposed to be doing better now.
Yeah.
You're going to college. You're doing these things.
We're doing what you told us to do.
Doing what you told us to do. And at the same time, you've also destroyed our family, our legacy. You don't teach it. You don't talk about it. You've erased it, and you're trying to erase it from history. But we're talking about the political system here.
Right.
All right.
So started out hating everything.
Right.
You know, I was like, Democrats crazy, Republicans crazy, liberals crazy, conservatives crazy, everybody crazy. Everybody's crazy. None of y'all make sense. I started to kind of mold towards the Bernie side during the 2016 election.
Okay.
Because he was saying stuff that kind of made sense. Like, hey.
Free college.
Not even free college. I wasn't worried about that.
You weren't concerned with being labeled a Marxist?
No. I was more on the side of like, okay, we got billionaires and trillionaires. Well, no trillionaires. We got billionaires. We got homeless people. How do we have billionaires and homeless people? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't. In theory.
Like, it doesn't make sense.
And it doesn't in theory. In theory, it doesn't make sense, but let's just be realistic about this.
Yeah.
Because of the type of world we have. Not country, the world we live in. There will always be poor among us.
So, yes, you have to have So, I had a professor in college, Dr. Fluker. He taught us about the QMP, the triangle There's always a top and there's always a bottom. Mm-hmm. And you can't have anything in the middle or at the top without that bottom.
Without the bottom.
Why? Because somebody has to be exploited.
Yep.
Now, originally, we were the original exploited people. Mm-hmm. Now we got people that'll come into the country and work for less than minimum wage, and they're being exploited.
Yeah.
They are being exploited.
Sometimes.
At their own choice. Mm-hmm. They're coming to do that. Mm-hmm. Right? With the idea that they're going to grow into this American dream.
And they do.
Sometimes. What is the American dream?
To be broken.
That's another story. What is the American dream? That's another episode.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, I'll take that.
You have to have that bottom. So if you have to have that bottom, no matter what you do, if you started out at the bottom, then you got a long road to get to the top, no matter what you do.
Right.
Some people are going to rise. And that's what I hate when some people, oh, well, that person is good and Tyler Perry's got $1 billion. Okay, but like, look at this whole neighborhood is dead.
Those are outliers, man.
Yeah.
Those are outliers. They and that's where everybody gets it twisted because you have a few.
Right.
And that's where the government gets it twisted. They're like, oh, well, you have a few. You have a few, you have a few, you have a few. Believe it or not, you are an outlier still.
Yeah. Same. You, me.
Technically,
we are outliers. There's a whole community of kids that can't get health care because their parents are making decisions financially about how much it will cost for them to get health care.
Yeah. And it's sad.
Bruh.
It is. It is very, very sad.
I can't get that out of my mind.
Because it's like this. But it's like this.
Yeah.
It's just like you with the Head Start. Okay. Here it is. My guy worked hard, does everything he can to get where he's at, to build. You build a business, you're building, you're working, you worked your way through school, you did everything. So now you have 2 kids and a wife, right? You have little ones that need to get ready to go to, what is it called? Head Start? The education? What's that system called? The system. What is it called when the kids get to go and they go to school before kindergarten?
Oh, pre-K.
Pre-K. Yeah. All right. So they got the pre-K, but you're not poor enough to go.
Yes.
So but you're not rich enough. You don't have enough money because you decided to buy a house in a place where you could for your kids to have a decent school system.
Yeah.
So you're basically saying, okay, I don't make enough money to send them to private school 100%, like
right
100%, and I'm not poor enough to get the government assisted Head Start.
So I'm just screwed.
Pre-K. So my question is if every kid is supposed to be created the same and everybody's given an equal platform, then even the richest of the rich and the poorest of the poor should be able to send their kids at the basic level of Head Start or pre-K.
I mean, you would think so. In certain places they are. DC actually does
but not Maryland, right?
Not Maryland, no.
And that's one of those things where it's like, okay, well, where does that happen and why? And who put that in place and why do they do it that way? Was it to keep the middle class down? Was it to make you more broke? Was it to stop people from taking advantage of the system? Or did they do it to design to hurt people?
I think
or because people would take advantage of the system.
Honestly, I think that the calculations are incorrect. The calculations of what a person would need to be assisted.
It's time for them to redo the calculations now anyway, because here's what hasn't happened.
Yeah.
Everybody makes more money now than they ever have. For the most part, except for the people that weren't making less at that time.
Yeah.
So the money now, you had a point in time in the last 4 years where you
inflation
had more, where you had you had more millionaires that were created, and then inflation happened and they didn't make the adjustment because you still got a bunch of poor people that just make a lot more money now.
Honestly, if you were a millionaire, if you made millionaire at 2020, right?
You're not a millionaire anymore.
Boom. Right, like your inflation happened. That if it was only $1 million, if it was only $1 million, that is now like $900,000.
Yep, that time value has dropped that income down so low.
And it's like even getting a job and getting a raise. One of my buddies was like, "Hey, good job, you got a raise. Remember, inflation is gonna screw you." And I was like, "Thanks." And I realized that.
and I mean and that's a part of the political process for people to ignore that.
Right.
I don't mean literally that's a part of the political process, but that's literally what they do.
I mean, they don't.
Because it doesn't impact them.
It's
and like you said,
even with the Biden forgiveness, the loan forgiveness, they had a financial threshold that was like $30K, like or something ridiculously low. Like, oh, if you didn't hit that, then you don't get this. It's like, well, most people that went to college, they did get a degree that have the student loans probably aren't making that unless they went to one of these like DeVry type of things, you know, and which is not bad, but if you got the student loans and you're not making this, you're not making that, then you just lost out. And like the calculation should be for, or they should, I mean, what do they say? They even say that if they tied the minimum wage to inflation, it'd be like $27 an hour right now.
Yeah, I get it. I get all that, and I hear all that.
I mean, you're a business owner. You don't want to pay that much.
I can't afford to pay that much. But
exactly.
But here's the only thing that happens. And like I tell people, it doesn't really matter.
No.
If I had to pay people $27 an hour, you know what I'd do? I'd raise my prices up. Yeah. So you're still just as broke as you were then. Yeah. And nothing changes.
It only matters for the people that are profit. Like,
and I found a correlation to this. And this is, people think I'm dumb when I say this. I said, okay, so in Maryland, minimum wage made it to $15 an hour. Okay. The price of a combo at most places now is about $12. Okay. Usually $3 shorter.
Yeah.
Before that, $15 an hour, it was still about $3 difference for the combo.
Yeah.
So all they did is just raised up the minimum wage went up. The company said, let's take this up. And McDonald's and all these places had great quarters and everything happened. And they are now singing, they're whistling Dixie because the people in the middle didn't get the increase.
So this is what I really think should have happened. Maybe it shouldn't have been okay, the increase had to happen. I'm not going to say that it didn't. The increase had to happen. But I think that companies with a certain revenue or certain gross profit should not, I want to be careful how I say this. If your employees should benefit from the excess funding that you bring in.
Like shareholders.
Yes, shareholders benefit.
I can kind of see that. I don't know, because then that again is that's creating more.
You can't do it without them.
But that's still creating more control.
But you can't do it without them.
You can't do it without them. So you're one that believes like big major companies like McDonald's and everybody who's grossing all these billions and billions and billions of dollars or millions of dollars per year should be held accountable for the pay for what they're paying the people, right?
Well, do you think you should be accountable for what they're paying?
I am at this point.
Because a lot of folks, so take Walmart, for example. I think they said like 40% or 40 to 50% of their staff is using government assistance. So you're paying for it.
I am.
Even though they're making billions.
Right.
Trillions, maybe.
Right. They do.
And I think that their trillions should be, if trickle-down economics is supposed to work.
Hey, listen, I definitely agree with you. I agree with 100% because I do feel the exact same way. I feel like, hey, listen, I get it. You're a billionaire. Your company's making billions. Your family's making billions. Everybody has money and all the shareholders are also rich and everybody's doing well. You should pay the people, or at least you should be able to, or at least the people that work for you in this large enough company, they shouldn't be on government assistance.
No.
But that's not how it works.
No, it's not how it works.
Because the government allows it to be that way.
Because Sam Walton and his family are paying them politicians.
Exactly.
And they're like, look the other way, please.
Yeah.
No problem.
They are.
No problem.
And that's and the thing about it is, like I said, you weren't, when people were talking about it, you weren't aware of it as a kid. You didn't care about it.
Right.
But now you're coming along and it's our turn to stand up to make changes for the youths.
Yeah. I think it's because I'm paying taxes and I see how much money I'm not getting help with. Like I'm not a billionaire, so I got worries about this, and I'm not all the way in the bottom, so I don't have any assistance. So I'm right here, and everything's gonna cost me money.
So the political system isn't designed to make change.
No.
It's designed to pacify the people. Because are you not entertained?
Are you not entertained?
Are you not entertained?
Are you not entertained?
Because the news is selling commercials.
Everybody's selling everything. I keep telling you, everything.
Social media is selling.
We haven't started selling y'all stuff, but we definitely gonna start selling. So the political we gotta make money too.
The political system is set for entertainment, and I tell people oftentimes, get as much as you can get. I'm not one to say the Republicans have it together, the Democrats have it together, independents have it together. However, don't completely unplug enough to where you don't recognize that the things you can impact.
Yep.
But paying attention to what they're doing in Washington does not dictate.
Doesn't help anything.
It doesn't dictate
unless
what happens to you.
Unless you get involved.
That part doesn't happen for you. What happens in our local community, the things that happen in your county commission, if you can't name like who your county commissioners are and you don't make any of your meetings, and I'm going to truthfully sit right here and say today, I don't make any of my meetings. Mm-hmm. So therefore, I don't complain about the level of taxes that I pay in the city that I live in.
Oh, I make the meetings.
So you make the meetings.
Yeah, and I'm going for it.
And then now because my guy's there, and when he start going, I'm going to become even more active. But the point is you can't complain if you don't participate.
Nope. That's the truth. And right there, I think we should wrap it up.
Hey, I'm good with that.
This has been I Figured Out I'm Grown. I'm Ben Ford.
And I'm Leander Kelsey Jr.
You can't complain if you're not participating.
Can't complain.
Peace.
Peace.